There's a gravel lot at the edge of a tree line in rural Missouri. A black dome sits on it curved, corrugated, roughly the size of a garden shed. A solar panel mounted on the side, a wooden deck across the front. From the county road, you would assume someone was storing equipment. A man walks toward it in the late afternoon, pulls a key from his jacket, fits it into the lock on the double doors, and pushes them open. Inside, warm LED light, pines showing along the curved walls, a green plant on a shelf near a small window. What nobody driving past that lot understood was that the man who just unlocked that door had not paid rent in 14 months. The whole thing cost him $683. How he built it is the part nobody expected. In 2024, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the United States crossed $1,500 a month for first time, according to Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies. In Austin, Texas, it was $1,650. In Phoenix, a city millions had moved specifically because it was affordable. It hit $1,480. These were not coastal cities with ocean views. These were the escape routes, and the escape routes had closed. The federal government defines housing as a cost burden when rent exceeds 30% of gross income. More than 19 million American renter households crossed that line in 2024 per the Joint Center's annual report. Nearly 11 million of those were paying more than half their income in rent. Between 2019 and 2024, median rents across the country rose 26%, outpacing wage growth in every major metropolitan area tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average American renter carried less than $400 in liquid savings, according to Federal Reserve Consumer Finance surveys. One missed paycheck from eviction. These were not people sleeping on sidewalks. These were people in work every morning, paying on time, and running the numbers every month knowing the math was getting worse. And while economists published reports and politicians held hearings, something different was happening in backyards, on gravel pads, and on building forums where nobody was waiting for a committee to approve anything. And while rent kept climbing, a different calculation was appearing in online forums and building communities across the country, not from architects, not from housing developers or city planners, from men who had looked at what landlords were charging and decided the arrangement no longer made sense. They were not off-grid enthusiasts or lifestyle minimalists performing simplicity for an audience. They were warehouse workers, retired tradesmen, mechanics, and day laborers, men who had spent their working lives building things for other people and had finally turned that knowledge toward themselves. What they found when they started looking seriously was that the Quonset arch, a structural form the U.S. Navy had used since World War II precisely because it was cheap, fast, and required no specialized skill to assemble, had been adapted into a prefabricated shell kit that any man with level and a free weekend could put together on a rented gravel pad or a family member's back acreage. The black mini Quonset model is an 8 by 12-foot arch shell kit that ships flat on a single pallet and costs under $700 for shell alone. It already has a door frame. It already has a ventilation port at the peak. A solar panel bracket comes pre-mounted on the sidewall. That is what you get before a single board goes inside. Marcus Webb was 41 years old and working construction day labor in central Missouri when he decided he was done paying $1,350 a month for a studio. He split with a rotating roommate because that was the only way the arithmetic worked on what he earned. Not an architect, not a contractor with a license or a crew, a man who had been swinging a hammer on other people's projects for 15 years and had sat down one evening with a legal pad, done the math, and decided the number at the bottom made no sense. He found the black mini Quonset shell kit through an online forum where other working men were trading cut lists and material breakdowns. The kit arrived on a standard pallet. He rented a gravel pad on a rural property outside town for $150 a month, laid a treated lumber base, and started assembling. The arch profile was the first thing that surprised him. Because the curved shell carries its own structural load, there is no internal frame consuming floor space. The full 8 by 12-foot interior stays open. He built the sleeping loft across the rear curve at a height that left full standing room beneath it during the day. Below the loft, a plywood desk surface, a 2-burner propane cooktop, and a small chest of drawers. Pine shelving ran both curved walls from floor to chest height. A composting toilet went into a rear corner closet he framed out in a single afternoon. The solar panel on the exterior bracket powers an LED strip along the ceiling ridge, a phone charging station near the desk, and a 12-volt fan for summer. From the day the pallet arrived to the night he slept inside for the first time. 11 days. Total all-in cost, including the shell, insulation, interior fit-out, composting toilet, and solar system, $2,090. He has not paid rent since. About 900 miles away, a retired electrician named Donald Pruitt had spent 4 years watching his fixed Social Security income lose ground to rent increases in rural eastern Tennessee. He was 68. He was not looking for an adventure. He was looking for a way to stop the math from getting worse every 12 months. He built his version on his adult son's back acreage in Hawkins County, using the same shell kit, adapted for his situation. The sleeping platform sits at 18 inches, not loft height. The door clearance is wider. He added a small cast-iron wood stove in the front corner, vented through a collar in the arch, and bought a cord of split oak from a neighbor for winter. Total cost, $1,840. No rent, no mortgage, no utility bill he did not choose. When a reporter asked what the structure gave him that renting never had, he said, "The key in my pocket is mine. Nobody can take the space because I'm 3 days late. That's what I didn't have before." A third example, and a briefer one. A 28-year-old mechanic in Missoula, Montana, built one for a co-worker who had spent the previous winter sleeping in his truck. It cost him a Saturday and $690. The co-worker moved in the following week and told the mechanic it was the first door he had locked behind himself in 2 years. This was no longer one man's experiment. The design was spreading faster than anyone had planned, and what happened next explains why it kept running into the same wall in city after city across the country. But this is where the story takes a turn nobody building these things expected. In Claremont County, Ohio, a man named Ray Tillman had finished his Quonset build on a rented gravel lot in March 2025. He was 44 years old, working warehouse shifts 5 days a week, and had been living inside the structure for 6 weeks when the notice arrived from the county zoning office. Violation: unpermitted dwelling. 30 days to vacate the property or face daily fines of $250. The structure was weatherproof, electrically grounded through the solar system, and had a functioning composting toilet and a carbon monoxide detector mounted near the ceiling. A local fire inspector who reviewed photographs told the outlet that covered the story there was nothing in the unit presenting a life safety hazard. By every practical measure of habitability, it was a home. By the legal definition written into Claremont County's residential code in 1987, it did not qualify as one. Ray Tillman was not a hobbyist. His landlord had raised the rent on his studio by $380 a month following a property sale. The unit he had lived in for 6 years was no longer within reach of what warehouse work paid in that county. The Quonset was not a lifestyle statement. It was the only number that worked. He contested the notice. A local outlet ran the story. The county eventually issued a temporary occupancy variance, allowing him to remain, while a formal review proceeded. When a reporter asked what the structure gave him that renting never had, he said, "A door I control, not the landlord, not the county. Me, he should not have had to fight for that at all." Zoning codes and the majority of American municipalities classify any structure under 200 square feet as an accessory structure, not a dwelling. That single classification is the wall Ray Tillman hit. It is the same wall that appears in county after county, regardless of how weatherproof or functional the structure actually is. 3 barriers come up in nearly every case. Minimum square footage requirements. Most cities set a legal floor of 150 to 400 square feet for any recognized residence. Utility connection mandates. Many codes require municipal water and sewer hookups, even where self-contained off-grid SY. Consider the cost comparison. A fully fitted Quonset build costs under $2,100 and takes under 2 weeks. A single subsidized affordable housing unit developed through a state program costs an average of $425,000 to construct and takes 3 to 5 years from funding approval to occupancy, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. That contrast tells you everything. But in the places that stepped aside and let people build, the numbers move in a completely different direction. By early 2026, the black mini Quonset model and structures built on the same logic had appeared in at least 23 states. No nonprofit was coordinating it. No government program funded it. No foundation was writing checks. It moved the way practical information moves when enough people need it badly enough. In rural Tennessee, a local land trust allowed 14 units on a 3-acre parcel. Average resident cost $180 a month in shared utilities. No rent. In Bend, Oregon, a church donated the back acre of its property. Volunteers assembled 6 units over a single weekend in September 2025. 6 men who had been paying more than 40% of their income in rent moved in within 30 days. In Colorado, a veteran named Curtis Lane documented every step of his build and posted online. His video was viewed 4.2 million times. He received more than 800 messages from men asking for the cut list and materials breakdown. He posted them for free. If you want to do something practical tonight for someone sleeping in a vehicle or on a floor who is not yet in a position to build, the Terra Shell Bivy uses a reflective thermal lining that returns body heat, creating a windproof, water-resistant shell around the entire body. It fits in a jacket pocket, costs under $20 per bag in bundles, and requires no batteries or setup. The link is in the description below. The plans are free. The shell kit costs less than a month's rent in most American cities. Go back to that gravel lot in Missouri. The black dome, the wooden deck, the man with the key. His name is Marcus Webb. Before he built that structure, he was paying $1,350 a month for his studio. He split with a roommate, running a monthly deficit, one repair bill away from not making rent. He had been in that position for 4 years. He has not written a rent check in 14 months. Donald Prue in Hawkins County is in his second winter with the wood stove going and the oak stacked outside. Curtis Lane in Colorado posted his build notes for free and watched 800 men download them in the first 2 weeks. The 6 men in Bend, Oregon, who moved onto the church lot in September 2025 are still there. Not a government program, not a decade-long timeline, not a committee, a permit review, or a funding cycle. A black art shell, a solar panel, a composting toilet, and a door that locks. Built by one man in 11 days for less than a month's rent. Marcus Webb figured out the same thing Donald Pruitt figured out, and the mechanic in M